My name is Jeremy Flagg, and I'm the cover villain. I'm here to talk about the concepts behind the cover. Today, we're going to be talking about the Poison Garden Trilogy by Jennifer Allis Provost. We're going to be discussing all three books so we can take a look at how a trilogy can be broken down into individual books and evolve with the series. This particular series is going to fall under the realm of fantasy, specifically dark fantasy. So some of the genre tropes that we're going to be seeing on this cover are going to include darker color themes, a little bit of death, and a hint of supernatural without going overboard because the poison takes primary focus of this plot. And because of that, ultimately, Jennifer and I decided to go with a symbol cover instead of characters. This would allow us to feel a bit more ambiance than focusing on individual characters. The most important element of this book is the poison garden itself. During the design brief, Jennifer made it clear that that was essential that the poison informs the story. So each book is named after a specific poisonous flower: oleander, bleeding hearts, and thornapple. Now, this created some difficulty because right away I knew that the project was going to require very specific stock photography, and photography of flowers is difficult to come by. It gets more challenging during the editing stage because of the transparency aspect of a flower. Many of the elements are going to remain the same for the sake of branding. The background is cement, and I tinted it green so that it had that outdoor feeling of reflecting the grass. Since death is a part of the story, the skull fit naturally into the design. And there was originally an idea of putting the skull into the flower themselves. However, this just looked forced and over-designed. The organic shapes that happen in the flower are all over the place with the vines. There's no man-made shapes at this point. And I wanted a manufactured element to draw the eye to the center. Originally, the mirror was reflecting the flowers, but it turned more into a portal into a darker space where the flower could take front and center. The vines coming out help root it to the background, and this helps play with the idea of organic and manufactured, life and death. While this works for a one-book concept, how is it going to evolve into books 2 and 3 just as much as the story evolves over the trilogy? I want the visual on the cover to do the same. So that actually required me to go back and talk to Jennifer more in depth about the plot, and that's when the fire came up. She mentioned the garden, the greenhouse, and eventually it burns down. Okay, well now I have a story element that translates into a visual. When I started working on the background, I knew I wanted this idea of old and wanted it to progress as the story goes on. For oleander, I started with the fire bleeding down at the bottom. Since fire plays a role in the book, it only made sense to show the progression of time, and by book 3, we have just a wisp of smoke left. I moved on to bleeding hearts, and I started to get the idea of expanding the ivy around the outside, and as it's going around the mirror, the rust is starting to encroach around the metal. I wanted to show that nature is taking back the man-made elements, and at the same time, this allowed me to highlight the individual plants because some of the plants are white and stand out against the background. Because of this, I went back and made sure that oleander, that comes in many different colors, is also featured in white. The same goes for bleeding hearts. There's pink, there's dark reds, but I wanted white to push forward and to reinforce this idea of purity. And as the series progresses, the ivy continues to spread. But the bleeding hearts are front and center, and there is a light shining down to give them a feeling of etherealness. From there, I moved on to thornapple. The fire's gone now. This creates a suggestion that time has passed and the flames have now died. There's a single soft light coming down in the center, highlighting the actual flowers of the thornapple, which aren't the actual poisonous part. Now, the ivy has completely surrounded the circle and it's starting to consume it. All that's really left showing is the skull. I wanted more subtle elements behind the focal point, and this idea of regrowth is starting to occur, and on closer inspection, the reader will see more green as the vines are starting to come back to life. And that is the concept behind the Poison Garden Trilogy. This is how dark fantasy and a little bit of grit evolves from book 1, 2, and 3 to create a cohesive cover design.